In this session, we'll cover tracking the exposure contingency via the PCO, or Potential Change Order BP, within I-beam. First, we'll have a brief reminder on the Construction Change Management Policy, and then we'll talk about exposure contingency, why it's important and how we track it. As a reminder, the Construction Change Management Policy was updated and communicated in November of 2017. It stressed the importance of proactive management of the budget and can be found within SharePoint. So why is exposure contingency so important? There's generally a downside risk or a potential cost. This could be an opportunity, however, such as a rebate. When there is a medium or high combination of probability and impact, there is a potential to impact the project budget and/or schedule. This session is going to focus on how to track the potential impact to the budget. So how do we project or track that potential? On at least a monthly basis, PMs can utilize the following change management tools as outlined in the Change Management Policy: the Risk Register, the Potential Change Order Log, the Cost Sheet, and the Projected Outcome Report package, which includes the Job Cost Summary Report. We're going to focus on the Potential Change Order Log and the Cost Sheet. To track exposure contingency, you can utilize the PCO as a tool. The PCO enables construction to record an anticipated or future rebate or credit against a cost code, as well as tracking potential costs, without triggering the I-beam cost sheet rule. You can also utilize the PCO BP to kick off the VCOR or the Vendor Change Order Request records as needed for vendor response. We won't go into that during this session, but just know that it is an option for you. The PCO is used to help you list exposure contingency within the cost sheet and the job cost summary report. And in addition, you'll be able to pull the PCO log. Once a potential change is identified, you'll want to make sure to initiate the PCO. When you initiate a PCO in the system, then you're going to find the dollar amount of exposure contingency reflected in your cost sheet and your job cost summary report. As an example, let's take a look at an existing project. This is Avalon Towson. Under Contracts and Payments, Change Management, and PCO, we can see the various PCO records that they've entered. You can also see the estimated amounts. Because they're utilizing this tool, they have the ability to scroll down to Reports, Other, and PCO Log. To pull the PCO Log report, double-click, determine your template, and then select your format. When you're ready, click Report. And here's the PCO Log by PCO number. You can see them listed out, as well as totals at the end. Next, you'll review your pricing and review your options, and you may even need to update your pricing on an ongoing basis, which the system allows for. Eventually, you'll need to determine if you're going to proceed with the change. Once you've made your decision to either proceed and create a DCO and/or a CCO, or that you're not and you just want to void the PCO, you'll eventually get the record over to close. And once the PCO closes, any dollar amount associated with that PCO will drop off the exposure contingency. Now, if you are moving forward and you've created a CCO, then those numbers will be reflected appropriately here. Let's take a look in the system at creating a record. Here we are in the training database, and we'll come down to Contracts and Payments, Change Management, PCO. We're looking at this through the standard view, which gives you the additional preview pane here on the right-hand side. Whenever you click on a record, you'll be able to see the record details and scroll through, the workflow progress, and then if there are any attachments, you could view those as well without opening a new window. To create a new record, we'll click on Create. Note that you have access to the job aid here under Help. First, we'll expand our upper form. Please take a moment to review the guidelines provided for you here. As a reminder, any field that's gray you're not able to influence as it will auto-populate later. So we'll start with the PCO information. First, you'll want to provide a title. Then you'll want to select your change driver. You have the ability to add any references here on the right-hand side. Next, you'll add your scope of work. And as we scroll down, you'll see that these fields are gray, meaning we're not able to click within them to add numbers. Instead, we'll come down to the PCO Details tab. To add a line item, we'll click on Add. And then search for your cost code. Enter your description and your dollar amount. Scroll down, and here you have the ability to send this out for pricing. So if you do want to invite the vendor to submit a price, you would click on Yes, enter the vendor information, and then as you move the record forward, it will kick off the VCOR for vendor response. We're going to keep this session simple and say no. If you have additional line items to add, you could click Save and Add New, and when you're done, you can click Save and Close. For any line items that you have, if you need to delete them, you can highlight them and click Remove. To update them, simply double-click and make any necessary adjustments before saving and closing. Next, we're ready for our workflow action. Your options are to either set up an estimate or issue a pricing request. Because we're not going to send this out to our vendors to kick off the VCOR, we're going to say Set up Estimate. Now if you were to click Save, this would save the record under your drafts, but it would not project the information for you to track on the Job Cost Summary Report, the cost sheet, or the PCO log. So you'll want to make sure that you click Send. Now that we've done this, we can see our record here, and you can also see that several members of the project team will be able to take action to edit this record. Now that we've submitted a record, if we need to change the pricing, you can simply double-click, go back into the record, click Accept Task, and make any adjustments necessary. You would be able to update the PCO information, the PCO description, and then to update any of the numbers, you would come to PCO Details, and you can double-click to adjust the numbers or information found here. Again, select your workflow action, and maybe you just need to update your estimates so that we'll update the numbers found on the cost sheet, the PCO log, and the job cost summary. Maybe you want to void the PCO altogether, or perhaps you're just ready to close it because you've already kicked off any change orders or DCOs necessary. We'll say we're updating our estimate, and we'll click Send. Now at this point, we're able to come down to our Reports, Other, and PCO log. We'll double-click, determine our template and our format, and click Report. And here we see our Clubhouse Windows Upgrade line item. In addition, if we were to pull a job cost summary report, we would also find this under Exposure Contingency. And here, under our job cost summary report, under the Exposure Contingency column, we'll see the storefront Windows line item we entered. This is also found in your cost sheet. So we'll go to POD, and and split our screen. Scroll across. And there it is in our exposure contingency. If you have any questions, you can review the construction change management policy as found in SharePoint, or review the job aids. And there are also some videos from pre-upgrade found in YouTube. You're also welcome to contact the helpline at 866-864-3470.